Yeah, I think it's an important point that to the extent that there is some movement, regulatory movement, a lot of it is a result of a lot of grassroots organizing. I interviewed Bart Chilton, who's a member of the Commodities Future Trading Exchange, and he said that he was seeing 100 industry lobbyists, if not more, to one reform lobbyist. But still, there was a presence there of reform lobbyists, which I think is important. People are fighting on this. But when something does get passed, even if it's weak, like the position limits that were passed, now the industry is going to court to fight even fight the idea that there can be limitations on position limits. What's going on with the court cases now?
There are a lot of court cases, as I said, and they're using these rules that say that there has to be a cost-benefit analysis done to show that imposing regulations do not impose greater costs than the benefits that are gotten from them. So the presumption is that deregulation or unregulated markets is best, and so in order to regulate these markets, there has to be a hurdle gone over to show that the benefits outweigh the costs. Well, this is completely putting mud into the regulatory works. I mean, it's completely backwards. We know from experience that the deregulated markets have caused this enormous recession, depression that we're in. So the Congress, in choosing these rules, has already made the decision and the analysis that the benefits outweigh these costs. So this is just a tool being used to try to prevent this kind of regulation.
Well, it sounds like it's a delaying tactic. I mean, if Congress can't decide what's in benefit of the society and they do the cost-benefit judgment and then they vote on something, I mean, how can you do that in a court? It doesn't make any sense other than to delay the whole thing.
That's right, and it's very costly to try to do these kinds of analyses. So you have to hire lots of quote-unquote experts, and it's hard to find experts that will do reasonable jobs on these things. So it really is a way of just trying to gut this regulation.
All right, so the argument the banks would make, if I had a banker here, he would probably say, if I can try to put words in their mouths, okay, maybe all of what you're saying, there's some truth to it, but the bottom line here is if the banks don't have liquidity, they fall. So all of these measures are going to limit bank liquidity, and that's more dangerous to the whole system than anything else that's going on. So you better get out of our way, otherwise these measures are going to cause the problem.
That's right. Cost-benefit analysis is one set of boring economics terms that they're using in the banker's defense, and this notion of liquidity is another one of these arcane terms. One of the really powerful ways in which the banks have been operating is that they have gotten their customers to support them in gutting this regulation, and they've gotten the customers to say, well, look, we need liquidity in order to sell our bonds, in order to do our investments, and if you impose the Volcker rule or you impose these other kinds of regulations, that's going to inhibit the ability of banks to provide liquidity to these markets, and our cost of borrowing and our cost of investment is going to go up. And you have economists, there's some very well-known economists like Gerald Epstein at Stanford University who write these papers are trying to show that you impose the Volcker rule, that's going to make liquidity dry up and it's going to harm the economy. The really silly part about all of this is they use data from the financial crisis itself when the banking system crashed. And yes, liquidity did dry up, and yes, that did have negative effects, but the reason the banking system crashed in the first place is because these banks were engaging in all kinds of proprietary trading, using all kinds of liquidity inappropriately. And it's precisely that kind of trading and that kind of inappropriate liquidity that rules like the Volcker rule are meant to prevent, and to prevent these crises from continuing to happen.
I mean, they're sitting on $1.5 trillion right now, and they're worried about liquidity?
That's right. The fact that the banks are sitting on almost $2 trillion of excess reserves, and the corporations are sitting on another trillion or so, there's plenty of liquidity in the market. And in the next bubble, if we don't impose these rules like the Volcker rule, the liquidity is going to go into all kinds of risky and toxic products that will crash the system again.
Well, as you said in your opening of your blog, the bankers are fighting this. They, for now, seem to be winning, and to quote you, then they're going wee all the way home.
That's right, and as you suggested, there are a lot of valiant and smart and hardworking activists from the Americans Financial Reform and Better Markets and the AFL-CIO and others, SAFER group here, Senator Perry. But we need more help, we need more support, we need more economists and others to fight against these things.
All right, thanks for joining us, Jerry.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on the Real News Network.